one of the things that really bugs me out there in the market is this one-stop shop kind of approach, right? Here, let me tell you what the solution is for you. But everybody is unique. And so whatever somebody is stuck, it's not a one-stop solution. It's not a Band-Aid. It's like we've got to dig in there. We've got to figure out what the problem is, figure out which patterns are unworkable, and then work to remove them. And that's always unique to every individual.
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. I am your host, Michael Palmer, and today's show is going to be a terrific one. Our guest believes in you mastering your genius. She's really a guide in your life that helps you take on leadership roles with ease, communicate confidently, improve your relationships, and transform anything negative in your past into an empowering future. Adele Spraggon, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Michael. Terrific to be here.
Well, thank you so much on behalf of the listener for being here and giving us your time today. Now, before we get into the brilliant work you do, I absolutely love reading. I've started reading your book. I absolutely love it. I've known you for a long time, and I love your message, and the work that you do is just literally a gift to the planet. So before we do get into all of that, Adele, please share with our listener a bit of your backstory and how you became Adele Spraggon today.
Well, that's an awesome question. Whenever somebody says to me, "Why do you do what you do?" I always say, "Do I have a choice?" Or maybe your listeners can relate. Like entrepreneurship is more like a calling, right? But how I got to be here is I really struggled with a lot of subconscious patterns, which were preventing me from feeling powerful. I actually started 3 highly successful businesses and quit them as soon as I started to get up to a level of success. I just turned tail and I just ran away. And so I'd walked away from 3 business partners. I'd walked away from 3 sponsors who had paid for all my initiatives. And I was just beside myself, frankly. So I also struggled with panic attacks. At the time, I had about 10 years of daily panic attacks every morning at 2 a.m. I would wake up in a panic. So at this point, and I tried everything, Michael, like a lot of your listeners may have if they struggle with things that are keeping them stuck. I've tried every personal development program on the market that I could find, and nothing seemed to be really working. So anyway, I reflected inside myself. I actually started to use my journal, and I came up with this 4-step repatterning technique, which completely changed my life. And because of that, I thought, okay, I don't have a choice. I have to go and teach this to people. And so I started teaching it. And boy, like lives all over the planet, really, are being transformed through this technique. So it's extremely powerful. And yeah.
Wow. It is. I mean, that is a calling. I love that you called it that. And you discovered it and created it. How did you come about this actual solution? And I've read a little bit about your book, and I think it's an interesting take on, like, you went and looked all over the place for this solution, but yet you ended up creating your own solution, which I think is incredible.
Yeah. Well, the night I quit, the afternoon that I quit my 3rd business, and I took my business partner out for dinner, and I looked in her eyes and I told her, I'm quitting. And I looked in her eyes and I just saw this look of disappointment just come over her face. And before, my other 2 business partners had been angry. But this look of disappointment really woke me up. It was like, whoa, what am I doing? And so that night, like many people do when they have a problem, I was tossing and I was turning, and I just could not sleep. And about 2 o'clock in the morning, I got up and I grabbed my journal and I just started writing. And mostly I was just writing the word why, and I just kept underlining it. I was crying, like, why am I doing this? Why? And believe it or not, my pen started writing, and I started reading the words that were written there. And what was being written there was just making the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. Because here was my pen telling me that the reason I was quitting had nothing to do with the situation out there. You know, I was blaming everything and everybody and myself. And it was saying, no, the real reason, Adele, is because you have a pattern of quitting. Change the pattern and you'll never quit again. Well, that was profound. I didn't even know what a pattern was at the time. And so I kept writing. And this entire new philosophy, this new perspective started to unfold on those pages. And it's one that's so empowering, so affirming and liberating. It was just remarkable to me. Like I said, the hairs on the back of my neck just stood up. My background, Michael, is in meditation. I'm a meditation facilitator. I've been meditating 25 years. And what this journal was showing me was that I could have those results that I was looking for through meditation inside of a 2-minute technique done inside the privacy of my own head. At first, I didn't believe it, but as I started to apply it, it was like, wow, holy crap, that's true. I'm actually getting where I would hope to have been after 25 years inside of months. So it was just remarkable. And now I work with people and they get those results too at that speed of transformation. So it is a very, very powerful way of doing life.
It's remarkable. And, you know, it's just, I've used the word magic before. It's magical in terms of the knowledge. Where did that knowledge come from? How did it get there? You know, it took what to get there? You know, maybe it was 25 years of you doing this work on yourself to be ready to receive a message like that. But it really is magical. And you've mentioned results. What, you know, some of the people, how have you worked with them? They come to you and they say, you know, I'm dealing with this problem. What kind of problems are you helping solve?
Well, really, I do work with a wide variety of people, but one of my primary group of clients that I work with is entrepreneurs. Because in my eyes, if I can help one entrepreneur, then I can help hundreds of people. Because entrepreneurs, the gift that they bring to the planet is tremendous. So your people working with bookkeepers, they support other entrepreneurs who are doing fantastic stuff. And that support is amazing, right? They're their back hand or their right hand for everybody to go forward. So I love working with entrepreneurs and helping them to get unstuck and to be fulfilled. I also work with couples. But if I can start with some entrepreneurial stories, you know, one of the women I worked with, I just did a workshop this weekend, and she was struggling with money for a long time. And she just came into this workshop just to review. And, you know, I said, how's it going? I hadn't seen her for a couple of months. And she said to me, Adele, do you know I have more money today sitting in my bank account than I made in an entire year before working with you? And I went, wow. Like, you know, she just has this freedom around making money, and she just walks up to people and asks for money, and she has no qualms about it whatsoever. So that's just one result. And it's just this complete liberation, like on can I reach out there? Can I take risks? Ride those waves, do what you need to do in order to make your business flow, and just get the money that you need in order to flourish and succeed. So I work with people around sales. I work with people around standing on a stage and presenting, anything really that's in their way of being successful.
Wow. So essentially, I mean, it's remarkable result. And this person essentially had something in their way, and you work with people's patterns, and you help them identify those patterns and turn those patterns, rewire those patterns, if you will, into patterns that work and get them what they want.
Yeah. One of the things that really bugs me out there in the market is this one-stop shop kind of approach, right? Here, let me tell you what the solution is for you. But everybody is unique. And so whatever somebody is stuck, it's not a one-stop solution. It's not a Band-Aid. It's like we've got to dig in there. We've got to figure out what the problem is, figure out which patterns are unworkable, and then work to remove them. And that's always unique to every individual.
I can imagine. And refreshing to hear it. So we've tackled one for entrepreneurs. What about relationships? How have you been able to impact people in relationship?
So couples come to me who are on the verge of divorce, and this is usually okay, we're either going to split up or we're going to give it one more try, right? And so I work with them each individually. We look at what are their patterns individually that are preventing them from having that happy, healthy relationship that they want. And then each person removes their individual patterns. And as they do that, the other person shows up brand new. You know, there's one thing, Michael, that I always say, the biggest gift you can give another person is to allow that person to show up brand new every time you see them. And that's the gift that the couple gives each other. And when they give each other that gift, it's like all that conflict, all of that negativity just melts away. And the empathy and the closeness, the connection is incredible. I mean, I worked with one couple. They went from being on the verge of divorce to being newlyweds again within 8 weeks. They're now building a business together. Believe it or not, they're in business. And we all know how much conflict that creates. And yet they're just sailing through happily and really supporting each other. So it's amazing to watch.
That's fantastic. It's beautiful. And so you say that again. So the way they're showing up for each other is they are being, was it a new version, or say that again?
Yeah. So the biggest gift that you can give another person is to allow that person to show up brand new every time you see them.
Got it. So it's me giving them the gift of like they're brand new. When I see them, like my wife, for instance, she walks in the door and it's like the first time I've ever seen her.
Yeah, yeah.
That's powerful.
And then you wait for her to say something, and then you get to know her based on how she's behaving. And she's doing the same gift for you. And it's truly, it's very, very powerful. And the beautiful part is as you do it for another, you start to do it for yourself. And that's really powerful, because a lot of us struggle with past histories that bring I'm not good enough messages or shame or, all sorts of stuff. And when we allow ourselves to show up brand new and get to know ourselves in every situation, it's like, wow, like all of that inner conflict, all of that negativity, all of those not good enough voices, they just melt away.
Magical. I absolutely love it. So, you can just listening here, I can see how powerful this can be for people, not just in relationship, but yes, entrepreneurs, business people, staff of those businesses, everyone can benefit. Tell me a little bit more and help the listener understand what is a pattern?
So, great question. So the easiest way to think about patterns is think of yourself as an iceberg. And at the top of the surface of the water is everything that you do, all your actions that you take, all of your beliefs, and all of your behaviors, both conscious and subconscious. Under the water is where the patterns lie. And so a pattern is simply an intertwined physical sensation, emotion, and a thought. So when all three aspects of our being comes together, it creates a particular action. So patterns are there in order for you to take an action or to hold a belief or to have a behavior. And those live under the water. So all that we do is we go in and we identify those patterns, first of all, and then there's a 4-step technique to just remove it. So it's really a method of subtraction versus a method of addition is the easiest way to say it. So most programs try to correct something that is perceived wrong. It's about fixing something that's broken. This is about just removing what isn't working. So patterns aren't good or bad. They either work or they don't work. And we just look for the ones that don't work and then just remove them. And then that action, that behavior, that belief just goes away. Just disappears.
Remarkable. So our listener listening right now, they've maybe never heard of something like this. What would be the first?
Likely not.
Likely not. And some remarkable results. I mean, I'd be surprised if there weren't a listener thinking, I'd like some of that. What would be one step that they could take today while listening or after they've listened that would help them start to move towards some of the wonderful results you're speaking about?
Yeah, great question. So, well, I would say, what is not working? That is the first question that you need to ask. So let's give some examples, right? Let's say that they are not getting the clients that they need in order to take their business to the next level. So the first question to ask is not what do I need to do, but where am I trying to get to, and then what's in the way of me getting there? So, for example, let's say that your listener says, I need to bring in 100 clients over the next 3 months. What is preventing them from bringing in those 100 clients? Is it that they're not picking up the phone and making phone calls? Is it that they're not generating leads? Is it that they're afraid to get on the stage and speak about what they do, right? So the first thing that you need to ask is, what is in the way of me accomplishing that goal? And then that's the top of the iceberg. So that's the action, behavior, belief. Then you want to close your eyes, look inside yourself, and identify the physical sensation, emotion, and thought that is preventing you from taking that action. So is it fear? Is there some, and it can be anything. Like, we never know. We have to start digging in there and find out. But what is it that's preventing that action from taking place? An emotion always speaks louder than our logic. We can tell ourselves, yes, I need to phone 10 clients today. But if the emotion is fear, the odds of you being able to push past that boundary and phone those 10 clients or potential clients is very, 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 very likely chance you won't, unless you have a pattern for commitment, which allows you to do that. So hopefully that makes sense.
Well,
right?
kind of. It's like you're removing some pieces and inserting some pieces, which is very interesting, because if you think about it, it's if we simply try and remove something, I mean, in most situations, like if we're fixing a car, right? And I'm sorry, I use these analogies about cars in the last couple of episodes, but if we're taking our car to get the car fixed and the tires are broken, we take the tires off, it's like, well, that doesn't fix anything. We need to replace it with something that actually will support it, like new tires or something along those lines. So this is very interesting in that often, I think for myself, just in terms of my own performance, I'm often, if only I wasn't doing it that way or could do something differently, it would be better. And really, it's a combination or a formula that needs to be rewired to actually create the lasting change that you're talking about. Yeah.
So we tend to think only about solution without first removing the problem. So like you're saying, you have to take off the old tire that's broken before you can put a new one on. Most people just try and stick a new one on top. And that actually creates another problem. So the solution that we come up with inside an unworkable pattern often just creates the next problem. Does that make sense?
It does,
so as we take away that old pattern, the one that's not working, now that we have room for the new solution to come into play.
Excellent. Now, what resistance do you have with clients? Like, people start taking this on. Do you find people instantly succeed, or does it take a while for them to get traction?
It takes 6 weeks in the beginning to learn this technique. And the reason is, if you think about how the brain is wired, so neuroscience is really catching up now to what the Buddha told us 2,500 years ago, right? That we can actually rewire our brain, is basically what he was trying to say without the understanding of neuroscience. So if you think about how the brain's wired up, we have these channels that are knitted together that bring us particular information or ways of seeing the world, our perspective, our worldview. And as you start applying this technique, you start to weaken those neurons that are knitted together. And as you apply it daily over a 6-week process, those neurons weaken to the point where they pull apart and then they snap into different channels. And that's what brings the solution. It's that pulling apart of the old and snapping into new channels where suddenly a whole new worldview, a whole new perspective comes into being. And that's that magical element that you're hearing, right? But in the beginning, it does take that 6 weeks of consistent application. Now, as you keep applying it, as you keep going, this technique speeds up. The brain gets used to working with its own plasticity, and it gets used to rewiring itself faster and faster and faster to the point where, now I can do it in seconds. It doesn't take weeks at all. But in the beginning, it does take something. Now, the technique itself is simple. Simple as heck, Michael. It's 4 steps that are so simple. Simple is not easy because the brain likes to complicate things. We like to try and understand things at a deep level, when really, if we just apply the 4 steps, it would work so much more effective. But, human beings are human beings, and complications come into play. So, yeah, in the beginning, it's like consistent application, learning something new. And then at 6 weeks, you start to get those magical results, and then things just start to roll from there.
So how do you take people through this? I mean, it's sounding very interesting. And, we think we're very much aware of software on computers in this day and age. I mean, 25,000 years ago with the Buddha, there weren't talk about apps and iOS and all this other stuff. But the idea of having some new software and having it running, and once you get that software running better, we've all had the new phone where it's like, whew, this thing's awesome. And then eventually it kind of degrades a bit because it needs another upgrade, perhaps. So This process, what does it look like to upgrade the software? It's just doing these exercises in over the 8 weeks?
It's done in the privacy of your own head. So it's just 4 steps that you learn. I can give you step 1 if that would help.
I love step 1.
Step 1 is, okay. So step 1 is you would identify the pattern. So something in your life that's not working. So I'm just going to make something up here. So let's say that leadership issues, and you've got an employee that's not working for you, okay, or not doing what you expect them to do. And so rather than going and speaking to the employee, you would turn inward and you would say, okay, so I've got this employee. You would think about this employee, and then you would ask yourself, what's the emotion that's arising in my body? And then where do I feel that emotion? So where is it physically? And then what is the one thought that pops into my head when I think about the situation? So it might be anger, for example. It might be a set jaw that you notice. And the thought might be, they are not doing what I told them to do. So that is the pattern then. So you've just done step 1, so identify the pattern. And then the next 2 steps take the process of pulling that pattern apart, and then the 4th step, you would be able to create a new pattern. So very simple, done in the privacy of your own head. Something, like I said, that as you get better at it, you can do on the fly. So walking up to the microphone to do a speech, you notice, oh, I'm feeling uncomfortable here. You'd just be applying the 4 steps on the steps up to the microphone, and boom, you arrive. Or your entire behavior is different as you hit that mic, right? Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it did. It's exciting. I mean, it's like, It's a very simple, like you say, we try to, as a human being, we want to overcomplicate things. I never do that every day. But it's a very simple way to really rewire and reset your software, your operating system, to get the results that you want in life. And that's exciting, and it's empowering, and that this can be done just in your mind and over a period of time. Now, I know that you have some brilliant free resources on your website about how our listener and people that they know and people in their lives, even anybody can use to get unstuck and then stay unstuck. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I think that's a great next step for everyone listening. If there's something in their way, and you've mentioned a few things that I actually think that I know our listeners, many of them want clients, right? Not just any clients. They want great clients and they want to be paid more. They want to earn more. And to get there, they have to do things that they're uncomfortable doing. I mean, one of our mantras in our community is to embrace being uncomfortable and doing things that are new, because that's where you find new results and new opportunities. And so we know that there's all sorts of results. Now, 100 clients is going to be overwhelming for every listener. They're like, what? 100? What the? So let's call it 5. But whether it's new clients or hiring some staff or, there's just things in your way, I think this will be a great next step for them to go and start actually rewiring their thinking for greater success.
And can I add one thing in there, Michael, for your clients? I always advise people never push past your comfort zone. Believe it or not. Now, as I say that, I am aware that everything that somebody wants is outside their current comfort zone. But when we push up against those boundaries, patterns are designed to keep us safe, and those patterns start pushing back. And that's why it's A, so uncomfortable, and B, why it's oftentimes the case that you can only push so far before you retreat back, right? Like I did. So I was pushing to get my business into existence, want those 3 businesses into existence, but eventually those patterns just pushed me back into the safety of who I used to be, and said, no, you're not going any further, we're quitting, right? And that's what tends to happen. So I always advise, please don't push past. Your whole thing is to look for where you're uncomfortable and remove the pattern. And then you're just stepping forward with ease. There is no
I love it.
I
really like that. And I think it's an opportunity for us to upgrade our thinking around being uncomfortable. And so what language could we use that would be empowering us to embrace the being uncomfortable? I don't know what the language might be, but how would you, there is this...
Ride the waves is what I say.
Ride
the waves. And the bigger the waves, the more excitement, the better they become. Because once you've got this tool in your pocket, it's like, yeah, bring it on. Bring it on. There is nothing that's going to stop me.
Beautiful. So ride the wave is to just ride the wave and explore. I'm going to talk to you offline about that because I like the energy of that. And I think I want to have our mantra, because we have a mantra that we talk about every month around success, and we sort of set the stage. And I'd love to upgrade that with empowering language that works with the wiring of your brain, which you're an expert in. And I think if we add some improvement there, we'll be naturally moving people forward to break through these different areas in their life.
Beautiful. Yes, of course. I'd love that.
That's great. Okay. Well, tell us about these resources, where they can go and find them on your website, and what they should expect.
Yeah. So go to www.adelespraggon.com. So my full name, Adele, just like the singer, SPRAGGON.com. And there you'll find lots of free resources. There's a 3-part video series, which will really teach you how to get unstuck. There is a free strategy call they can book. So yeah, start there, adelespraggon.com. Grab that 3-part video series and you'll be on your way.
Beautiful. Well, that's awesome. We're going to have the links literally right there on your phone if you're listening, or you're on the computer. Just look down and you'll find the link where you can go right to Adele's website and get those free resources and begin your journey of riding the wave. I love that. I'm wearing my shirt today. Again, I wear this shirt very often, Everyday California. It's like I'm going to have to get a couple pairs of it, because for me, it's all about riding the wave and chilling out and just literally having fun with whatever we're doing in the day.
Yes. Whooping and hollering all the way to success.
Exactly. I think I'm working the brand for the people that, so I've mentioned the shirt in a few episodes. They're going to be like, Michael, you wear that shirt every day? We're going to have to send you some new shirts. Adele, this has been fantastic. I thank you so much for being so generous with the work that you're doing. And thank you for the work that the results you're creating in the world, but as well taking your time to help our listener, deal with the challenges in their life. There are people out there that every day are working hard to help small business owners like you and like so many people that make our communities great. So they thank you, I know, and hopefully they can get the work that you're doing and take it further in their life.
Yeah, so I don't know where I'd be without my bookkeeper. So you guys are amazing.
Yes,
you do fantastic work.
Yes, they are. You're all amazing. Give yourselves a big hug from Adele and from me. And Adele, I know we're going to have you back on the show in the future to tackle more of this and see what else you're up to creating in the world.
Thank you. Thanks, Michael. It's been awesome to be here.
Thank you. That wraps another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. To learn more about today's fabulous guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.